Hello and welcome to Our Amplified Life. Amy and I are chatting today. We've switched it up. So if you're here with us each and every Friday, you know that we love all things fashion. We represent a clothing label that we highlight a lot of things, a lot of times, but we give you some fantastic tips to just utilize with whatever clothing you're putting on your body. Tricks, tips, ways to look your best. So join us each and every Friday. We have a new video that goes live, or you can always check out our playlist because we've got a few years worth of weekly videos that you can absolutely binge watch. And we try to bring an abundant amount of joy and laughs, and just, it's a great time. If I do say so myself, I thoroughly enjoy it. But today we're having a conversation about burnout. And this can be burnout in any area of your life. It may be social media, it may be burnout of all the things that is required of us as a woman, just not feeling completely yourself. You ever felt that way, Amy?
Yes. Especially as a mother of a young child, this time of year, I think everybody understands it's summer, we want to be outside, they're tired of school, maybe we're getting to the end of our cabbie season and we just want to refresh and renew. Social media is one that's really hard for me. It is just, I'm a very authentic person, so I don't feel like if I have anything to say, what can I put on there? And so I kind of just walk away. I really, really do. And with my daughter, she gets burnout from school. I say, let's walk away. I think summer is really, really important for everybody, not just parents, not just teachers, not just students. I think it's just that necessary break. And I think that's what we need to do in our daily lives. We need to get better at taking intentional breaks, maybe not 3 months long, but intentional breaks.
Yeah, it's really about honoring the season that you're in and giving yourself and other things grace, and just knowing. I mean, I've taken numerous social media sabbaticals, and I have to say that they're completely refreshing. And for me, I've always had a little bit of a love-hate relationship with social media. I tend to be a fairly private person. And so I'm not one that's going to show up in stories every day sharing all the things. That's just not who I am. And so for a while, I tried to be that because I saw that, oh, well, that's what you need to do to be successful. Well, when you try to force yourself to do something that is not, that does not feel good to you, that feels kind of icky, it's never going to be a great experience. So I really had to just kind of figure out that, okay, that's not where it's at. And I love being eyeball to eyeball with people and just really being able to be in the moment with a person. And so for me, I try to do social media as a way to stay connected in some level with my friends, my clients, my family. But it's not the highest priority in my life, which is evidenced by the fact that I'm not sure I've posted on Instagram this season. I'm going to have to go back and look, but it's been quite a while. And I was at a family funeral here a few weeks ago, and some of my family were like, oh my gosh, we miss seeing your pictures of your farm, because I've always loved photography and just being out and about. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll post a little bit, but it's just, I don't know, I tend to be more of a private person, and it makes me step out of my box, which is a good thing. But I also know that it does not bring me a ton of joy most days.
Yeah, it's interesting because we are in the business of staying in front of our clients. And so for me, it's that tug and pull of Am I serving them well? Am I meeting them where they want to be met, even if this is an uncomfortable space for me? And finding that balance has been a really hard thing, because I don't always feel like I have anything to say. And so that is when I definitely pull back, even if I know they're wondering where I've been. It's truly that, like this last week I had COVID. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not even getting on because I'll just cough the whole time. Which thought that was gone, but I just think there's some times when we need that refresher break to go, okay, where is my value? How am I going to show up? And I want to show up for my clients in the best way possible. And that's not to put on an Instagram facade by any means. It's not that I don't want to show my real life, but I also know that there's a lot of chaos in the world and I don't want to add to that. And so it's finding that balance of value versus intention and what it does to feed you. And I love that because I do think it is, people do want to see into your life. They want to see your farm. They want to see those things. But having healthy boundaries is another thing that we've spoken on. And sometimes it's just a really hard mix. I learned a couple of years ago that my kids hated when I posted about them. It's really easy for me to post about my kids. That's the one thing that I'm never burnt out about. It's the one thing I'm always happy to say, hey, look at this person's accomplishment. And my boys cringed at that thought. In fact, they blocked me from being able to post about them. And that was a wake-up call because I realized at that point, they were at the age where they were drawing their healthy boundaries. And so it did affect me because as a mom, I was like, well, don't you want me to celebrate you? Don't you want me to be able to like put a picture where everybody can see it? And they were like, no. And my boys don't even use social. So it's interesting how when I may be feeling burnt out, somebody else is not, vice versa. And we just have to be able to be respectful of that. What about other aspects of your life, Rebecca?
Well, I was just going to say my dogs can't block me, but they do hide their face from the camera sometimes.
Well, even they know.
Yeah, it's too much. Too much. Just leave us alone.
Well, you and I both have husbands that want nothing to do with it. So that's another aspect, is the family aspect and how much of that goes into their lives as well. And so my husband is like, put me on there, I'm out,
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think for me, so I have an addictive personality. I just know that. And for a few years, I was on social media all the time. And I realized that it was becoming a not good thing. And so I needed to kind of take a step back and regroup. And like we had talked about, establish some boundaries. And so now, on the weekends, I pretty much set my phone down and it doesn't get picked up. So I've tried to establish those boundaries. If I'm sitting with my husband, the phone gets sat down most of the time. Sometimes it's in my hand, but most of the time it's sat down and I'm not even looking at it or responding to things, because for one, it just gets overwhelming, the deluge of things coming in from all different angles for me. And so I found that I've got to have those boundaries and just set it aside, or I get massively burned out on it. And to the point where, emails don't get looked at and things like that. And that's not healthy either. So I think by kind of figuring out where you are, where your family is, honoring both of those things, and then just realizing that this is a fantastic tool. It is a free tool for those of us that have businesses. You can pay to use it, but I mean, free for the most part. And it can be utilized to add so much joy to not only your own life, but to others' lives. And I think sometimes we just need to realize that put things out that feed the soul, that bring joy to people. If somebody wants your opinion on something, have a conversation with them about that. Don't blast it over social media. I know, I don't know. It's just, sometimes it gets to be a lot and things are coming at you from all different angles, and you just have to take a breather. And I feel like, especially when it seems like each and every day there's something new and unknown, sometimes scary, sometimes very frustrating. It's hard. I think there's that, we've said it a few times. I'd love to live in precedented times again, because it seems like everything is unprecedented anymore. And these are just kind of new, crazy things that get thrown at us, what feels like on a daily basis. So things can get pretty heavy. And for me, when things get heavy, I escape to nature and my farm and my animals and the things that really, really fill me up.
Yeah, I think replacing it with something, I think that's how we're built. If it's not one thing, it's going to be another. So finding that time to divide, it actually takes me back to a conversation that we had a few weeks ago about saying yes. What are we going to say yes to, and what are we going to replace it with? And that isn't just an invitation. It can be, are we saying yes to social media and no to our family time? Are we saying yes to time outside and letting our businesses completely fail? It's finding that balance. And so there's burnout on all aspects. And I think when social media really got tugged at my heartstrings was really, like you're saying, when all the things about the sex trafficking and all the scary games that the kids could get on. As a parent, I felt like I had to be on there to learn these things, to be aware, to then monitor my kids, but it was also pulling me in, right? So it's that, sometimes I wish we could go back to just blood, sweat, and tears outside and not have to worry about a paycheck or not have to worry about this, but that's also very isolating. And so life is just, do we ever really have balance? I don't know. I don't think that we do.
Balance is an illusion.
Exactly. But I think it is that game of today's balance rather than life as a whole. I can be balanced in this moment, or I can be happy in this moment. I think we think about joy the same way we think about balance. Oh, if I could just be happy all the time, right? Well, that is also an illusion. That is not life. But maybe in this little nugget of time, I can just enjoy that spark of joy I had. Maybe in this 1 hour, my time can be balanced with, I'm putting my phone away and I'm just going to spend the day with my daughter, or I'm just going to focus on the farm. And I think breaking that down is also how we can avoid some of the burnout. I think the burnout comes from diving all in all the time without those intentional breaks, because we feel the need to fix something, or the need to make something go, or the need to like take care of something. And all of a sudden you realize no matter how much energy, time I put into this, I can't always accomplish it. You need your rest, you need your downtime, you need your time away. And sometimes I find that when I do that, things start to clarify and things start to come to mind that maybe didn't in the moment. I used to be so frantic. I didn't realize that I actually dealt with anxiety. And I look back at the person I was 10 years ago. And when I was burnt out, it actually equated to chaos. It equated to me losing my temper or me getting so stressed out. I just had to come apart and I would cry. And I didn't realize that that was burnout. I didn't realize that that was me taking on more than I thought I could handle. And I didn't know how to walk away. And so I have found that when I start to feel that stress, that's a good indicator that I'm too involved in one thing, or that maybe it's time for me to walk away. And I'm learning those tools. I wish it didn't take me till I was in my mid 40s to figure that out about myself. But it has.
Yeah, just age and maturity. But I guess I'm thankful for that too. I feel like, yeah, I could have done a lot of things better in my 20s if I would have known then what I know now, or if I had had the experiences. But those experiences are what has shaped who we are today. And so I feel like everything happens in the season and in his perfect timing, definitely not my perfect timing. And I more and more am just embracing that. And I'm honoring who I am as a person. And I'm not trying to recreate myself into someone that I think people will like. I'm just showing up as who I am. And if people like me, fantastic. We will be fast friends. And if I'm not their cup of tea, then they'll keep moving on. And that used to rip my heart out when because I would get so vested in relationships, or it could be anything. I mean, in a business, in whatever. And I put my heart and soul into things, and then would feel gutted when it wouldn't work out as I had really wanted or intended. And then I'd feel this whole burnout and just want to like, oh, okay, I'm not doing anything then. And I'm so glad that I'm off that roller coaster. So mid 40s, bring it. I am here for it. And I'm one of those that our best years are ahead of us. And if you don't believe that way, you've got to change your thinking, because our best years truly are ahead of us. Does that mean that they're going to be without challenge and without heartbreak and without just crazy, sometimes traumatic things happening? Absolutely not. But I have just learned to be faithful and not worry about tomorrow. Kevin has been freaking out because we're needing rain again. We had a lot of rain here a few weeks ago, and it feels like we should have plenty, but we don't. Things are getting dry. Anyway, he has been checking the weather frantically. And for me, I mean, I get it. I get it. I am a cut flower farmer, so I get the need for rain and all the things. But I also know I have no control over that. And so when we have control over things, then fantastic. But those things that we don't control, we've got to release, or we are going to have massive amounts of burnout. And I've done it to myself over and over again, and I'm sure I will do it to a certain extent in the years to come. But thankfully, I've gotten better, thankfully.
Well, one thing came to me, and then we can end. As you were speaking about needing water, a lot of it is our own perception, right? So if we could zoom out, I'm just using water as an example. If you came to my state and looked on my mountain, you would then think, oh my gosh, we've been so blessed with water and green everywhere. So a lot of it is our own perception of our heart, and not to take that away, and not to take the value of those are valid feelings, and that is your reality. And I think that's what we forget sometimes. But you have learned to release that outcome, which is giving you a wider scope. Like, we're going to be okay. We got good water the last few weeks. When I look at your pictures and see how beautiful and green it is, I'm like, oh my gosh, I would die to have that kind of foliage around me, but I think in life, we think of that. Sometimes all we see is what's right here in front of us. And if we could open that tunnel just a little bit bigger, so we had a little bit wider scope, then I think we could say, okay, I'm burnout because all I'm doing is focusing right here. Where if we just let people in or let their vision come in, it would actually help us breathe. And I think that's what age does to us, is it is giving us that wider scope. The younger we are, like, this is all we see. And then the older we get, we can, through life experiences, maybe things we've learned through podcasts, maybe knowing that we've been burnout in this situation before and everything worked out. And I think that's the one thing we need to take, is that our perception is our reality, but so is somebody else's. And if somebody doesn't treat us right, we don't have to understand why. I think that's, sometimes it's nice, but it's not their responsibility. It's ours to either give them grace. It's our responsibility to know how we are going to react. And it just goes back to what you're saying. You were so invested in relationships and so invested in things. And sometimes it's only meant for a time. And we have to be able to release that. I think our perception changes how we look at a lot of things. And thank goodness for friends like you that are always, if anything, that's one thing I would say is there are always those friends that are great sounding boxes that help you get through that burnout. And if they are not somebody that allows you to be in those ebbs and flows, and you do the same for them, then it's probably not the friendship that is meant to last forever. And I think that's the same with jobs. It's the same with, I think, even within family. If they're not celebrating you, if they're not giving you that strength when you need it, and you're not doing the same for them, then maybe that's a signal that the burnout is real. And it doesn't mean you have to cut them off completely, but maybe look at it through a different lens or scope, and how can you make that more healthy. And a lot of it is self-reflection, I think, again, is because our perception is our reality. So how can we then be better? How can we show up for them in a healthier way to keep us from being completely exhausted and drained? And that's something that is one foot forward. I don't think we ever know the situation. But I know there's been times when I haven't had the answers and haven't even been able to self-reflect. It's just been too heavy. And the only thing I can do is completely close the doors and walk away for a time. And when I'm ready, those solutions seem to come. But I think intentional space, intentional grace for others is a blessing when we need it.
And grace for yourself too.
Yeah. I'm going to take us out. I think that these conversations are so good for Rebecca and I have, because these are topics that honestly just come to us and we say, let's go with it. A lot of it's what's on our hearts. A lot of it is the time that we're in. And so we want you to know that we're bringing these to you, being very vulnerable, and we want you to come into our world with us. And if you have comments, thoughts that you'd like to share, please let us know, even if it's on an individual basis. We have found that a lot of people love these conversations. Maybe you're in that same space and you just need to know you're not alone. That's what we're here for. So it's not just fashion and fun and friends. It's not just about cabbie clothing. It's really, our friendship grew from there, and we're hoping that you feel that we're pulling you into our world. And again, like any other time, like, share, and comment, and leave some suggestions. If there's a topic that nobody talks about that you want us to talk about, we will talk about it. So let us know kind of your thoughts. But thank you for being with us. We are here every single week, every Friday, without pause. So definitely join us every week, and we cannot wait to see you next week.